Welcome to Dose of Social, your recipe for social media success. I'm Lindsay Mauk.
I'm Kayla Pearlstein.
And this is Dose of Social.
You only make those noises when there's no guests now.
I don't want to scare our guests. Be like, who is this person? What do I need to know? All right, Kayla. All right. And today we're going to be talking about a social media platform that's been around for over 20 years. It is used primarily by business professionals, but also by job seekers. It is. What is it, Kayla?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Yay!
I love LinkedIn. I feel like it's grown on me over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on LinkedIn for 21 years now, so I'm a big fan of LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. Well, I feel like for a while it was like really important, and then it almost kind of like I feel like a lot of people had a negative taste in their mouth about it, and now it's like back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
So.
I remember when I first joined LinkedIn, I just graduated from college and I wanted to really build my network and I wanted to connect with as many people as I could in the industry that I wanted to get a foot in the door into, really. And then I remember when I got my job at MySpace, and anytime I would connect with a fellow MySpace colleague on LinkedIn, the first thing they would say to me was, "Are you looking for a job? Are you trying to change jobs?" And I'd be like, "No, what? I just want to connect with you on LinkedIn." And they're like, "LinkedIn is mainly for people who are looking to change jobs, Lindsay." And I'm like, "No, it's about building a network." So kind of funny to think about back in the day. But yeah, that was like a common question back in the day when I was using LinkedIn. So Kayla, how long have you been on LinkedIn?
Oh gosh. I've been on there for a while. I don't know if I can say for 20 years, but I think since I was in or at least graduated college.
Nice. And why do you think LinkedIn still matters this year in 2025, 21 years later? LinkedIn is old enough to have a cocktail, everyone.
Yeah, I think
it's a legal age.
Well, I think there's a lot of different reasons. I think for one, with everything going on with TikTok being kind of up in the air of what's happening, and I know Meta has kind of had its issues. I know I have my love-hate relationship with Meta, but I feel like LinkedIn is really, like you said, where you can go to connect with people, but you can also share your thought leadership and expertise. And we've just seen it take off for clients in a completely different way than it has on Meta, for example. So I don't know what happened, but it made a comeback, and I feel like it's doing some big things.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think, like I mentioned, that, back in the day, it was primarily a platform that you were active on if you were looking for a job. But now I think it's a platform for personal branding. So anyone looking to build thought leadership, their own personal brand, and then also B2B businesses. I mean, we are seeing a lot of success for company pages on LinkedIn, and the businesses that we work with that aren't necessarily looking to reach consumers, but looking to reach decision makers on the business side are seeing a lot of success there as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
So Kayla, tell us a little bit about how business owners and brands can use LinkedIn effectively in 2025.
Yeah, so these are things that I've seen, but I was also reviewing a report from a tool called Metricool, the scheduling tool. So we're seeing that carousels are kind of leading in engagement right now, but the trick and the big tip for carousels on LinkedIn is when you download your content from Canva, you need to download it as a PDF. So then it gives you the same swipe feature that you would see on Instagram, and it's not just the blocky type carousel. Those get better engagement. We've also seen, instead of using hashtags below the caption, we include hashtags within the copy based on what we're talking about, because it also kind of bolds certain words and draws your attention there, but it's also bolding relevant keywords as well. polls are kind of underrated, so not a lot of people are using them. There's maybe a little bit less competition there, but it does help with your engagement. Text-based posts can go either way. It says that they generate the least interactions, but because it needs some type of visual or something to draw your eye to. But we have seen clients that put out text-based posts only, and those do perform pretty well. So sometimes we'll test between text-based or text-based with a carousel or, very long article type posts, but it's not an actual article post on LinkedIn. It's just a long form caption. Um, I'd also read that the best day to post on LinkedIn is Thursday. However, I firmly believe that all of those things that put out the best days and times to post on certain platforms, I believe it's the industry you're in and when your followers are engaging with your content. I don't know where you stand on that, Lindsay.
Yeah, I mean, Thursday is a good day. From an email marketing perspective, we have a lot of our clients who send emails on Thursday because it's the day before Friday. You're still kind of in the work mode. Um, so I would say, like for LinkedIn, I think Mondays are good for LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I generally don't post or recommend clients post on the weekend for LinkedIn because boundaries.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really great types of content that you can share on LinkedIn. You can also post articles, which I still think are, that's like LinkedIn's version of like a blog post, which I think is still effective. And then
Mhm.
LinkedIn has its newsletter tool as well, which I know several people that I know who are colleagues who are using that feature as well. So it's nice to have those native tools like within the platform to allow you to do that long form content as well.
And I'd like to also make a note because I've just seen this with potential prospects, but an article on LinkedIn is not the same as a long form caption. There is a
Oh,
specific section on LinkedIn where you can post an actual article. To Lindsay's point, it's like a blog post. It asks for a header and you put all your information in there. It is not a caption that's a long caption.
thank you for clarifying because I was talking about an article, but I didn't realize that some folks got confused with that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
I think the other thing too with LinkedIn is sharing industry news and industry thought leadership. So on your business page where you might be talking about a specific service that you offer or a topic, on your personal page, you want to make that more personable to you and who's listening to you. This is not a specific LinkedIn example because we're posting for this client elsewhere, but a good example for this is with her company page. She's a vet. She works with both Eastern and Western practices. And so we're putting up a post about acupuncture with pets, why it's beneficial for them, why it's okay for your pet to do for you to do for your pet. On her personal page, we're posting about why she believes it's important and her expertise behind it. So you can post the same type of content on both your personal and business page, but just make it more about why you are a thought leader in that space and why people want to follow you and read more of your content.
Yeah, and I would also say like from a thought leadership perspective on LinkedIn, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be an expert in that thing. Like from the vet's perspective, she doesn't have to be an expert in animal acupuncture, right? But she can share her learnings about it
Mm-hmm.
and her opinions on it. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, I'm an expert in veterinary acupuncture, right? So I think that sometimes people steer away from thought leadership on LinkedIn because they're like, oh, I don't know enough to like share about that. But you actually probably do. And even just sharing your opinion is valuable enough.
Yeah, and I like this example, but we have another client. They are a THC beverage company. So it's a product based client, so they're on other platforms as well. But one of the founders is on LinkedIn, and so he puts up content that's kind of related to the brand, but not really. So I think one of the posts he had recently put up that was actually one of his top performing posts. He's also a power lifter, and he did a post about I'm a power lifter and there's THC in my pee, and it like went viral almost because it was kind of controversial, but was getting his point across, and people wanted to see more of that content.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, and I think we could talk a little bit too about like the types of content that works on LinkedIn that maybe like doesn't work on other platforms and vice versa. Like, I share family information and like experiences and things that my family's doing on my personal social on Instagram and Facebook, but you will not see a mention of my family life on LinkedIn. It's just like there's a time and place for everything, and like I don't think that's the place to share that information. So I think also just like knowing the types of content to share where and like when it's appropriate.
No, I agree with that. We also have a client who will post his thought leadership on LinkedIn, but the image might be like a selfie of himself at the beach or something. We've seen that the photos of him in it perform better than a text-based post or an image created. So it's very interesting, but I agree. Like family life is probably best kept on Facebook and Instagram and left off of your LinkedIn.
Yeah, totally.
So, some best engagement strategies and how to grow your connections on LinkedIn. Would you like to start with personal or business, Lindsay?
Let's start with personal and then we can go into business.
Okay. So with a lot of our clients or with myself, I mean, we're looking for people within my target audience to connect with. A lot of decision makers are going to be on LinkedIn. So you're going to find more of these people on LinkedIn versus Instagram or Facebook. However, if you reference our episode coming up with Tracy Davison, our biggest pet peeve on LinkedIn is when somebody connects with you, they seem like a legit connection. It could be great to connect with them for whatever reason. You accept their connection, and an hour later, next day later, you get an immediate sales message. Hey, so great to connect with you. I'd love to talk with you more about this AI tool that we have, give you a free rundown. Can you schedule a time on my calendar?
No, no, you cannot schedule a time on my calendar.
And I believe Tracy's tip was to actually remove them from your connections because they could also be using you for your connections list. I know, Lindsay, you have a ton of connections on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and that's also a good point too, because I think that sometimes, like, especially for job seekers, like if they're looking for a job and they see that maybe I'm connected with someone who knows the hiring manager or whatnot, I will get a message like, "Hey, how well do you know so and so? Would you be comfortable making a connection?" I'm always appreciative of those messages because at least they're being mindful of like, hey, maybe you don't really know this person that well. Maybe you met them like once in at a networking event. You're not like super tight with them. And I want to acknowledge that. Like I appreciate that. And I think that's like probably a number one for etiquette is like asking someone like, hey, how well do you know this person? Would you be comfortable making an intro? And then also like, how well do you know the person that you're asking for the intro? Like if it's someone that you never talked to or like someone that asked you for help 5 years ago and you never even responded to. What goes around comes around, right? So you wanna
Yeah.
make sure you're obviously in the right position to, like, ask for that intro. But I think in general, like, a good business practice overall is to ask for permission to give an intro anyway. I mean, I know if someone asks me for an intro or I feel like I meet two really great people that I think should collaborate, like I always ask beforehand, "Hey, can I make this introduction?" Just because you don't want to just like throw that on someone. So I would say that's like a good etiquette for LinkedIn, probably too.
Also, and this kind of goes with any social media platform, but don't post and ghost. So get on there and interact with people that you're connected with. You can go to the feed view on LinkedIn and engage with other people's posts, join in on conversations that other people are having. Don't just, post content and get confused as to why no one's engaging with you or your content doesn't seem to be hitting. Like you actually have to do something from your end as well.
Yeah, that's super true. Like you have to be following like your own engagement best practices, and I would say that's like commenting on other people's posts, responding to relevant messages. Even if you don't want to make that intro, just at least reply back, "Hey, sorry, I don't really know that person all that well."
Yeah.
Like, but I'm happy to help or, let me know, whatever. Because what I found is that when I go in and I comment on other people's posts, I tend to get a windfall of people viewing my profile because I'm a LinkedIn premium member. So I can see who is actually viewing my profile, like who
Lindsay
that
can see you.
I can see you. I can see you. Yes, so if you're viewing my profile, I can see that. And that's a good thing. I like that because especially if I'm in active conversations or negotiations with a brand to work with them at my agency at LTM Digital, and then I see that the CEO is looking at my profile and the CFO is looking at it and other people within the company,
Mhm.
I take that as a good sign. Like, hey, these people are looking at my LinkedIn. But then also, if I'm commenting on someone's LinkedIn post, and then I see that I get a couple people that look at look at me from there, they're probably saying, "Oh, like who is this person? I want to learn a little bit more." So I think there's a lot of benefit to commenting on other people's posts. And if you're not sure where to start with that, you can just really start it in like the softest way possible, which is like, hey, comment on job anniversaries or job promotions. Like when someone gets a new job on LinkedIn, like give them that celebrate reaction on their post and say congrats. Like LinkedIn makes it super easy. Like they have the like the pre-generated AI comments that you can just like even say like, like Kayla is now a board member of, this charity, right? And you could say that and I could be like, congrats, Kayla, that's awesome. Well deserved. And then like someone reads Kayla's post and then like, oh, who's Lindsay? Oh, go check the profile. So I mean, I think there's a lot of benefit to doing stuff like that too.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because a couple of years ago, when we kind of first got into LinkedIn, especially on personal pages, we were doing that. So we were going through their notifications, people that had birthdays or anniversaries. We would just make it semi personable. So, hey, Lindsay, happy birthday. Hope it was a great one. And the client was actually, they ended up getting business out of it because it was someone they hadn't talked to in years and it kind of restarted that conversation. And actually, I have a meaning to reach out to you about XYZ. And then it transitioned. So that definitely is an easy way to engage. Also, tagging really helps your post impressions and reach. So when Lindsay and I share our dose of social posts on LinkedIn, we always make sure to tag each other's businesses. It's also, like Lindsay said, a quick way for other people to check you out. So if I'm tagging
Yeah.
Lindsay, somebody wants to, they like something Lindsay said, they want to contact her, they'll click on her name because it's tagged.
Right, and also tagging our guests too.
Yeah.
I remember last month when we published, I think it was Armando's episode, and he posted about it on LinkedIn. And then someone who was connected with you and Armando
Yeah.
commented and said, "Hey, congrats Armando, congrats Kayla. I don't know Lindsay yet, but
Yeah.
congrats too." And I was like, "Hi," so there's stuff like that too. That just like, and now there's like a connection. So I mean, there's like it's very easy to kind of do that, especially with just people that you're meeting with, and like birthdays are an easy thing. If you have lunch with a colleague, like a scheduled lunch or something, and you just want to take a picture, you guys, like, look who I met up with for lunch to shoot the shit with after so many years or whatever it is. Like, I think that's also something that would be LinkedIn worthy. Another thing is like sharing industry news for your industry, like any sort of like big news or um innovations, your company being mentioned in the press is an obvious one for LinkedIn, but
Yeah.
I think some brands don't take advantage of that enough. It was like working with a brand and they were quoted in like the LA Times and they were like, "Oh yeah, we should put this on our LinkedIn," right? I'm like, "Yeah. Let's put it on your LinkedIn." So like making a big deal about what you're doing when it's relevant.
Yeah, and then on the business side of things, a lot of those things also are still relevant for your business page on LinkedIn. So if your business is having an outing or you're at a conference or whatever it might be, like post those pictures of your team, post photos of you at the conference, share what booth number you're at, tag people in the photos. That's where you get the most reach and engagement and impressions on a company page is when you're tagging other people. Um, I know you can also post actual job posts on LinkedIn, but sharing on your company page, hey, come join our team. We're hiring a new social media manager. Here's the link to apply. There's also a button on your business page where you can notify your employees. So when you put up a post, you can click notify employees. Anyone on their LinkedIn that works at LTM Digital will get a notification that the company post just went live, and they can go and engage with it. And then that clears out every 24 hours. I'm not sure how new of a tool this is or if I'm going to date myself, but now on company pages, you can go in and manage your following. So it's in your settings, you click manage following, and you can start typing in other company pages to follow. So with a lot of our clients, we ask them for their customer list, for their prospect list, whatever it is. And we go in and we start searching these pages and following them because there's a feed feature. So it's just like Facebook, you're scrolling on Facebook posts, and you can go and engage as the company with those posts. So we have a client who someone else does the outreach side of things from a personal page. So we're just handling the business page, but we know what businesses this person will be engaging with. So we're always making sure that we're following them and engaging with their posts. So when this person reaches out, it might not seem as random because LTM Digital commented on their post and the name sounds familiar.
Right. Yeah, that's great that you do that. I think that that's very powerful and underutilized. I mean, we manage a company page for a B2B business, and they're very active in their industry. They go to events fairly regularly, and we've gotten in a habit. We've been working with them for a couple of years now, and they all their employees know you go to an event, you take pictures and send them to the social team at LTM Digital so we can post that for you on your behalf. And it's great because we have a whole practice. You can tag the conference, you can use whatever hashtag the conference is using or event, and then you get some nice engagement from them as well. So I think just making that a best practice for your business. And then also another tip for if you're going to a conference is anyone whose business card you get or information, making sure you go back and like once you're home, go add that person on your LinkedIn page.
Mm-hmm. We've also had clients, they were somehow able to get attendee lists for conferences. So then we went in and made sure that we were following those brands or businesses that were going to be there and engaging with them. And then super simple, there's an activity button or section on your business LinkedIn. You can click it and it'll show you if you've been mentioned, if someone commented, if someone shared your post, and you can easily go and engage with that content too.
Awesome. Yep. LinkedIn is great.
I love LinkedIn.
All right, Kayla. Well, this is awesome. So much great information that you shared and that we chatted about for LinkedIn in 2025. Anything else you want to share as a takeaway with our audience today before we break?
If you're not posting carousel content, I would highly suggest you do so. I know LinkedIn's also coming out with some more video tools within their platform. So video is going to be just as important on LinkedIn as it is everywhere else. And if you're not on LinkedIn, I would highly suggest you create a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, definitely start. And I'll just add too that LinkedIn is working actively to build more tools for creators because they want to kind of be in that game as well. So I would just say keep an eye on it and keep listening to Dose of Social, and we'll continue to keep you posted. All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Dose of Social. I'm Lindsay Mauk.
I'm Kayla Pearlstein.
We out.
See ya.